I am Alara Whitfield, and I am 34 years old. The night everything finally made sense, I was standing outside a restaurant I had paid for, holding a receipt that cost more than my first month's rent after college, while my husband smiled inside with people who had just decided, out loud, that I didn't belong. Before we go any further, please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Stories like this reach the people who need them most when they're shared, and someone listening right now may be standing in their own quiet moment of realization. The restaurant was called Aurelian Row, one of those places people only talked about in hushed tones. Low amber lighting, white tablecloths, polished floors, and menus with no prices printed anywhere. It was meant to feel exclusive. I chose it carefully because the dinner was supposed to celebrate my husband's promotion. I wanted the night to feel special. I wanted him to feel seen, supported, proud. I made the reservation myself. Confirmed it twice. Called the restaurant that morning to double-check everything. When we arrived, his parents were already seated. His father, Graham, looked comfortable in the chair like he had spent his life in rooms like this. His mother, Lucille, wore pearls and a smile that felt polite but distant. His sister Celine arrived minutes later with her husband, laughing loudly as they sat down. They greeted my husband warmly. When it came to me, the smiles softened, shortened, and moved on. I ignored the feeling and sat down. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. Conversations flowed easily, but not toward me. They talked about family vacations, shared memories, inside jokes I didn't understand. When I tried to join in, the topic shifted smoothly, like my voice had interrupted something important. The waiter arrived. Everyone ordered without hesitation. Lobster tails, dry-aged steak, truffle pasta, multiple bottles of wine. No one asked questions. No one glanced twice at the menu. I assumed the bill would be split. There was no reason not to. As the night went on, the small things became harder to ignore. Lucille leaned closer to Celine when she spoke, lowering her voice even though I was right there. Graham nodded thoughtfully when my husband talked, but barely acknowledged me. Celine interrupted me twice mid-sentence without apology. My husband didn't notice. Or maybe he did and chose not to. I stayed quiet. That wasn't new to me. I grew up in Briarfield, a small town where people didn't complain because complaining didn't fix anything. My parents worked constantly. We didn't have much, but we had discipline. I learned early how to take care of myself, how to be responsible, how to survive without asking for too much. That lesson followed me into adulthood. I worked my way through college, studying computer systems while juggling part-time jobs. After graduation, I didn't get anything glamorous. I built a tech consulting business slowly, painfully from my apartment. Years of late nights, rejected proposals, quiet sacrifices. It eventually worked, not overnight success, just steady growth. By the time I met my husband, I had stability. My own income. My own place. My own identity. He came from a different world. He grew up in Silverpine Heights, where houses had gates and family names carried weight. He spoke with confidence and dressed like someone who had never worried about rent. He said he worked in finance. I believed him. When we started dating, there were signs I ignored. He often forgot his wallet. His paycheck was delayed. He had a rough month. I paid. I didn't mind. I believed generosity was part of love. His parents asked questions that felt less like curiosity and more like inspection. What does your father do? Do you own your place or rent? I smiled and answered calmly. I wanted to fit in. Back at Aurelian Row, dessert arrived. Another bottle of wine was ordered. Laughter filled the table. I felt invisible, like I was present only as decoration. When the waiter placed the check in the center of the table, everything stopped. No one reached for it. The silence stretched. My husband turned to me with a relaxed smile. "Can you get this one?" he said. "I forgot my wallet." Before I could speak, Celine laughed. "Oh wow, same." I left my purse in the car. Graham leaned back. "I didn't expect to be paying tonight." Lucille smiled at me. "You're doing well now, right, Alara?" I felt the air leave my chest. I didn't want to argue. I didn't want to embarrass anyone. So I nodded, pulled out my card, and handed it over. The waiter thanked me and walked away. Conversation resumed instantly. No one said thank you. I signed the receipt. $4,860. Afterward, Celine stood up. "Let's take a family picture." Everyone gathered together. I stood too, stepping forward naturally. Lucille turned toward me, smiling softly. "Oh no, dear. Just family." I looked at my husband. He didn't hesitate. You should wait outside. No explanation. No apology. I walked out quietly. The door closed behind me, and the night air felt sharp against my skin. Through the glass, I watched them pose, smiling, laughing, perfectly comfortable. I pulled the receipt from my bag and stared at the number again. I took a picture of it with my phone. That was the moment something inside me changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. On the drive home, my husband talked about how nice the dinner was, how happy his parents seemed. I stared out the window, the receipt folded carefully in my bag. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat alone at the kitchen table. I opened my laptop. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet. I just knew I needed to see everything clearly. I pulled up my bank statements and started scrolling. Rent, utilities, groceries, trips, gifts, month after month. My name, my card, my money. I grabbed a notebook and started writing things down. Slowly, carefully. For the first time, I wasn't making excuses. I was paying attention. The next morning, nothing looked different on the surface. The apartment was quiet. Sunlight came through the curtains. My husband moved around like everything was normal. He kissed my cheek before leaving for work and said, "Last night was nice, right?" I nodded automatically. The words sat heavy in my chest, but I didn't correct him. That day, I couldn't focus on anything else. Every small interaction replayed itself in my mind. The way his mother smiled when she asked if I was doing well. The way his sister laughed when she said she forgot her purse. The way my husband didn't hesitate when he told me to wait outside. It wasn't just rude. It was practiced. Comfortable. Like something they had done before in different ways. That evening, after dinner, I opened my laptop again. I hadn't planned anything yet. I wasn't plotting revenge. I wasn't even angry the way people expect anger to look. I just needed to see. I needed the truth laid out in front of me without excuses, without emotion. I pulled up every account. Rent payments, every month since we moved in together. Utilities, all in my name. Groceries, weekly charges, consistent and unquestioned. Streaming services. Insurance. Travel bookings. Then I went deeper. Holiday gifts for his parents. Birthday gifts for his sister. Wedding expenses I had helped cover, temporarily. Flights I booked when he said his account was frozen. Hotels he promised to reimburse me for next month. There was always a next month. I opened a spreadsheet and started listing everything. Dates. Amounts. Notes. At first, I thought I would stop once I got the big picture. But the more I added, the harder it became to stop. Each line felt like a small confession I had been avoiding for years. By midnight, my eyes burned. The total sat at the bottom of the page, bold and impossible to ignore. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't just the number. It was what the number represented. 2 years of marriage where support had only moved in one direction. 2 years of silence. 2 years of being convenient. I closed the laptop and sat back in my chair. For the first time, I allowed myself to ask a question I had avoided since the beginning. What if this never gets better? The answer came quietly. It won't. Over the next few days, I changed my behavior. Not dramatically, not obviously. I became softer, calmer, less reactive. I apologized for things I hadn't done. I smiled more. I stopped pushing back in conversations with his family. I let them feel comfortable again. My husband noticed immediately. "You've been different," he said one evening. "More relaxed." "I just want peace," I replied. That word, peace, meant something very different to me than it did to him. A week later, I suggested the idea. "What if we plan a small family getaway?" I said casually while we were eating dinner. "Just a weekend. Somewhere quiet." His face lit up. "That would mean a lot to my parents," he said quickly. "They've been stressed lately." "I can take care of it," I added. "Consider it a gift." He didn't ask how much it would cost. He never did. When he told his parents, their reaction was exactly what I expected. Lucille sounded pleased. "That's very thoughtful of you." Graham approved immediately. "Good idea. Family time is important." His sister sent me a message full of heart emojis and exclamation points. They accepted without hesitation. I booked the cabin that night. It was called North Crest Lodge, tucked far outside the city, surrounded by trees and a quiet lake. Beautiful. Isolated. Expensive. I booked it under my name. My card. My email. Every detail went through me. I read every rule carefully. Check-in time. Check-out time. Digital locks. Automatic security system. No flexibility. Perfect. I booked the rental van. Ordered groceries. Reserved a small boat. I didn't tell anyone the details. They didn't ask. In the days leading up to the trip, I played my role perfectly. I packed snacks. I bought wine. I printed welcome cards. I acted excited. I acted grateful. They believed it. The drive to the cabin was long. Everyone talked except me. Lucille pointed out scenery. Graham talked about property values. His sister took pictures for social media. No one offered to help with directions or driving. When we arrived, they were impressed. The cabin was beautiful. Wooden beams, large windows, a deck overlooking the lake, a hot tub steaming quietly in the back. They gasped. They smiled. They praised my effort. You really went all out, Lucille said. Only the best, I replied. That first night, I cooked while they relaxed. I served the food. I refilled glasses. They complimented me like I was staff. You're such a good hostess, his sister said. Our son is lucky, his mother added. My husband smiled proudly. No one helped. The next day was filled with activities I had planned. A boat ride. Long lunches. Wine in the evening. Laughter. Pictures. Compliments. They talked about how nice it was that I was finally acting like part of the family. I listened. I smiled. That night, while everyone soaked in the hot tub, drinking and laughing loudly, I went upstairs quietly. In the bedroom my husband and I were using, I placed something on the nightstand. A printed copy of the restaurant receipt. On top of it, a small note. Never forget. I didn't mention it. I didn't point it out. I just left it there. Later, when everyone was distracted and relaxed, I packed a small bag. I had already placed the rest of my things in the car earlier that day. I didn't rush. I didn't slam doors. I walked out quietly. I drove away from the cabin slowly, not because I was unsure, but because I wanted the moment to settle properly. The road was quiet, winding through tall trees, the early morning air cool and clean. I didn't turn on the radio. I didn't check my phone. For the first time in a long while, my thoughts weren't racing. They were steady, calm, certain. I stopped at a small cafe about 20 minutes away, the kind that opened early for hikers and truck drivers. I ordered tea and sat by the window. The sky was just beginning to lighten. I placed my phone face down on the table and watched the steam rise from the cup. At exactly 7 a.m., the reservation ended. The digital locks at the cabin were programmed to shut off automatically. Access codes expired. The security system activated. Everything I had read carefully in the booking terms took effect, just as promised. I imagined how it would unfold. Someone would wake up thirsty or hungover and try to step outside. The door wouldn't open. Confusion would follow. They would try another door. Then another. Panic would creep in slowly, the way it always does when people realize control has slipped out of their hands. They would look for me. I would not be there. A few minutes later, my phone vibrated on the table. I didn't pick it up. Another vibration. Then another. I finished my tea first. When I finally looked at the screen, there were missed calls from my husband. Then messages. Where are you? The door won't open. Is this some kind of mistake? More calls followed. The tone shifted quickly. This isn't funny. You need to come back right now. My parents are freaking out. Then came the voice messages. His mother's voice was tight and controlled, anger barely held back. This is unacceptable. You don't do this to family. His father sent a short text. You've gone too far. His sister's message came last. I don't know what your problem is, but this was cruel. Not one message said thank you. Not one said I'm sorry. Not one asked if I was okay. I turned my phone off and went home. The apartment felt different when I walked in. Quieter. Lighter. Like it was finally honest. I looked around and felt nothing. No sadness, no nostalgia, no urge to fix anything. I opened my laptop. I removed my name from every shared account. Closed the joint savings account. Changed passwords. Blocked access to my cards. Anything tied to my money was locked down within an hour. Then I handled the car. It was under both our names, but every payment had come from me. The down payment. Insurance. Maintenance. I called the dealership, explained the situation, and arranged to sell it back. I didn't tell my husband. He could find out when he needed it. That afternoon, I emailed a lawyer. I laid everything out calmly. I attached bank statements, receipts, confirmations. Every dollar I had spent keeping our life and his family afloat. The reply came quickly. You were financially exploited. We can proceed immediately. I made another list. This one was longer. Rent, groceries, utilities, trips, clothes, streaming services, holiday gifts, family events. Every I'll pay you back. Every next month. Every promise that never materialized. When I totaled it all, the number was higher than I expected. I added interest. Then I printed it. At the top of the page, I wrote in bold letters, amount owed. Below it, I added a short note. I was generous. You were ungrateful. This is not emotion. This is math. I mailed copies to his parents and his sister. That night, I opened my phone and scrolled to a photo I had taken outside the restaurant months earlier. In it, they were laughing around the table, glasses raised, proud and comfortable. I added a caption and sent it to the family group chat. $4, $8.60 well spent. Then I muted the chat and went to bed. The fallout was loud, but I stayed quiet. My husband begged. Promised change. Asked to talk. His parents accused me of embarrassing them. His sister said I should have handled things privately. Still, no apologies. So I told the truth elsewhere. I wrote a post online anonymously. I didn't name names. I didn't exaggerate. I just told the story as it happened. The dinner. The payment. Being told to wait outside. The pattern. It spread faster than I expected. Thousands of comments. People sharing similar stories. People saying, this was never about the money. Someone turned the restaurant photo into a meme. The caption stayed. Then people started digging. Old public posts from his family resurfaced. Comments about gold diggers. About keeping women in line. Screenshots circulated. The internet did what it always does when the truth finally has space to breathe. A few days later, a mutual friend messaged me. He lost his job. No announcement. No explanation. Just gone. I didn't celebrate. I didn't respond. Instead, I booked a solo trip. A quiet beach town. Long walks. No schedule. I slept when I wanted. Ate when I wanted. Read books I had forgotten I owned. Listened to music I hadn't played in years. I remembered who I was before I started shrinking to fit someone else's life. When I came back, I rebuilt slowly. Work first. Friends who listened. Painting again. Hiking on weekends. Learning guitar just because I could. I learned to set boundaries without guilt. I stopped explaining myself to people who were committed to misunderstanding me. Months later, a white envelope arrived in my mailbox. A wedding invitation. His sister was getting married again. I stared at the RSVP card for a long moment. At the line that asked for dietary requirements, I wrote one sentence. I don't eat with people who throw me out after I feed them. I placed the RSVP in the envelope. Behind it, I slipped a clean copy of the restaurant receipt, flat, visible, unchanged. Before sealing it, I added one final note on a small card. You should have kept the receipt. Then I mailed it. I didn't wait for a response. Because some messages aren't meant to start conversations. They're meant to end them. Betrayal didn't destroy me. It clarified everything. It showed me where I ended and where my life truly began. If this story spoke to you, please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Share it with someone who needs strength today. You're not alone, and choosing yourself is not cruelty, it's survival.